another experience that you will see, or another common scene that you will see, are people using the pity or the soft heart of others in poor situations. Now, this is the dirty side or the bad side of poverty. The other side is like just innocent people trying to live and trying to survive, but there's another side to it, which is dirty and manipulative. And this is, I'll explain what I'm saying for those who think this is wrong, what I'm saying. There's women who are poor and they have children. And, you know, I've seen women in the Middle East and parts of India on the side of the road begging for money. And when they notice that the rich people aren't giving them anything, what they'll do is take one of their children and make their child handicapped. They'll make them invalid in order to pull on the heartstrings of those people passing by, those passerbyers, the rich people, or, you know, well-off people, to give them money. So you see in many cases where they'll break the child's limb, or they'll cut it off, or create some kind of injury where it has to be sawed off in order to, you know what I mean? That is, yeah. So that's another side of the bad poverty, the bad side of poverty.
And that's kind of like extreme though, because that's a manipulation, type of manipulation, but it's kind of like my last, resource. And I will
You're
call
my
it
last.
just my,
Yeah.
like Trigger Mike said, is the lack of access to the basic needs. That's the way I see it, because in the um hierarchy of needs, we have the basic ones, which is we need shelter, we need water, we need food, we need clothing. So all those basic needs, they don't have access to it. Like, how can they be safe if they don't even have a place to stay, most of them, or a safe place to stay? So I think it's that they cannot even have the basics. So that's
They
just
use
something
whatever
I'm
they
like,
have.
mhm.
I was saying that they use whatever they have in order to get ahead. And if whatever they have, if the child is the last resort, then so be it at that point. And that's a scary part of poverty, where your own guardian, your own person that's supposed to be protecting you through this hard time, is going to use you as the way to get ahead. Be limbless, be in invalidation, sorry, making you handicapped, what have you. So
I saw a movie like that. Has anyone seen Slumdog Millionaire?
Oh yeah, India is
They
like probably the worst place for that
they
because
did
their
that to like
population is
the little
yeah,
orphan kids.
yeah.
They like
They
made them blind on purpose because
hmm
you'll
And you know
pay
what it
them
is?
money.
It's black market organ trafficking, right? So that's what they do. Like, they use these orphans on the street are going through all these, like, there's child abuse, like, just a lot going on. And to even think about it, we can't even, like, I won't even touch the surface, right? Like, I can't. It's
yeah,
terrifying.
and these
That's what it
people
made me
have.
think of when Amir said that. Like,
I
oh
mean,
my
it's so
god.
deeply rooted that these people have global. I think I've heard one of my cousins in the UK. He works for Interpol, so I can't really give out all the things he told me when I was talking with him some years ago. He said it's a global impenetrable network, meaning they can only catch people to say they caught them. He said there's no way to stop it. He's like, think about child trafficking, and I think we were talking about trafficking and how bad it was in the U.S. and Mexico. He like looked at me and said, like he laughed. He said, you have almost 400 million people in America. Some of those countries, he's like, India has a billion in that landmass. They have
right.
just a billion by themselves. He's like trying to figure out trafficking and how to get them to stop doing it. He's like, it's an impenetrable network. You can't possibly stop it. As for coming from an international policeman, that was crazy to me.
Well, the thing is, once again, we're going to talk about how humanity can be good and how humanity can be bad. Humanity will always have troubles because of the two people, assholes and the idiots. Okay? These assholes and idiots think it's a good idea to human traffic. We don't have a worldwide government. Nobody wants that. Okay? Right now, the best you could do is call on America. That's the best you could do. And we're not the best people to call. We all know that. We're better than everybody else that you have an option for. But as far as picking out the perfect world and how we'd all like to exist, I mean, so no, you'll never stop that. And each one of y'all were describing different poverty. Like I was going to come into what the poverty I experienced in the United States. But once again, we'll go back to the original question, which is what is first world and second world and third world. And I'm going to use the old cold world definitions for that subject. And in the first world, which is Western aligned, United States aligned nations, poverty for us is different for poverty from what Amira and Sahira and Fee just described. Okay, I'm sure we have some rednecks in the fucking, Appalachians that are living the same way. But for the most part, even our poorest are not as poor as the people they're talking about. And so anything I would have said about my experience with poverty would have been completely overshadowed by how it works in the third world countries. However, I do not believe
we have this. That is why we have this YouTube channel explaining it.
Exactly. There's nothing I have experienced in my life. Like I've experienced, like you don't eat for a while so that you can pay your electric bill. That was my poverty experience. You know what I mean? I lived on my own and whatever, but I had shoes, for God's sakes. I had a fucking floor underneath me. It has nothing compared.
You always
to
have like the needs, basic needs.
Yes, as far as Pavlov's the pyramid, right? No, my first two were taken care of. Even at my poorest, they were taken care of. I had no experience of what Amir was talking about, what Fee was talking about, what Sierra was talking about. None of that. I know it exists. I mean, it exists in America. There are people that live that way. There's our homeless and shit. But there is a different level of poverty for first world nations, second world nations, and third world nations. However, I will not allow that for the richer part of the first world nations to be able to say, well, yeah, you got it like shit, but at least you ain't like them. No, asshole. It's still bad.
But I think it's a little different in America because, say, someone's homeless. There are programs, there are resources, there are homes. If you want to get out of that, you can do it. You have the ability to. In certain countries, there is nowhere to go. There is no money to go. There's no programs.
I was just thinking that I've seen those programs where like people go to a certain place and they're like giving food to the homeless people. They're giving clothes, even shelter. Some people, they have to sign up like early to be able to get the space to stay. That doesn't exist here. It doesn't.
There's no welfare. That welfare is such a cushion for Americans. And we don't have that. Middle East, there's no welfare. There's no you can depend on the good hearts of others to give you money. You have to depend on your family. This is why our families are so strong, because we can only depend on one another. We don't have no daddy government to run to. So that's why you have women running to that extreme to damage their children in order to, Raul is right, it's different.
Which is fucked up. And Europe does it better than America, by the way. Europe has gotten much better off than we have as far as handling their shit. We are, in reality, we Americans we're the best country in the world. Maybe after World War II, guys. But once, Europe rebuilt their fucking industrial power base, no, they're beating the fuck out of us in every category. Their poor people are better than our poor people. Their middle class are better than our middle class. Now, once again, Fee, Sarah, I keep saying your name wrong, and Amira, you have described conditions that are much worse than Americans. And our American politicians would be like, yeah, we got 15 billionaires that got 30% of all the world wealth in the world, but at least you're not living in Zimbabwe. You know what I mean? Fuck you, asshole. That's not how it works. Just because somebody else has it worse doesn't mean you're doing better, in my opinion.
It does though, Raul, because being born in America, just being born on this ground that we're on right now as Americans, puts you in the top 5% worldwide. It does. And as much as we like to say, well, poverty is poverty and everyone is suffering, even though you're suffering, you're not suffering as bad, you're still suffering. In America, you still will eat, you still will be okay. And those countries is different, right? Like I said, hot and cold water. I mean, that is such a luxury. Americans, you think that that's just how it should happen. There should be a hot button and a cold button when you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
That is, I
That
mean,
is something I say quite often. I don't know why people complain in America at all about hoods or slums. Like, we from the hood. It'd be like, you have running water. Shut up. I've lived in, like, I told you the story that my dad, he got stuck back in Nigeria after I was born. After I and my sister were born here, we had to go back there to live because they didn't know how they were going to get him back over here. Right. So I was there for 2 years. All I can remember is that I went from having a shower to a non-existent shower. I had to go get my bath water from a well that smelled like ass. And then everything that could fit, the water I had to use to bath could fit in this basket right here. That's it.
Yeah.
So you take one scoop over your head, one on your body, try to get your whole body wet, wash up, then rinse the rest off. That's it. That's your bath.
you can drink your bath water. Americans can stand in the shower, open their mouth as the shower is going, and just drink endlessly. You
Yeah, I
can't.
would
I
never
tried
drink
that
that
one.
ass water in Africa. That ass water was.
That's
No,
what
we
I was
had
thinking when you said ass water.
Mm-mm.
We use like tin boards to cover outside, like have like a wall, and then have a hose on top of it over a branch. I honestly, I'm not gonna lie, that was a beautiful ass shower. Like,
Yeah,
for me,
yeah.
I enjoyed
And
it.
here's the crazy part: when you go, Lagos is actually very developed. It's something like the New York City of Africa, right? So, my parents were able to get like an apartment there, right? So at least we had a bustling economy around us, even though you're struggling to get money to afford things. But when we went to where they were from, like in the mountains, in the country, I had to brush my teeth with a branch. It was some of the best teeth brushing you'll ever have, but weird. It's weird to acclimate to. All right, to watch my aunt when they call me on WhatsApp, still do it. Hey, Mikey, how are you? Spitting out the wood, like, oh damn, I'm like, they still doing that?
No, we still do that. I mean, no. But that is not poverty, my friend. That is the best way to clean your teeth in the
I was
world.
gonna say, no, it is the best way to do it. I'm just saying,
It is.
remember when I said it's almost as if those things are also not available to them. Toothbrushes and things aren't available to them, in abundance.
It's what
So
you adapted to, right? We adapted
yeah,
to with a toothbrush. Like, for me, I used to brush my teeth with that same same branch you're talking about, but they would like shave it up and it would be an art, right? And it was more spiritual in a way. So here, when I came here, everything was so fake, to be honest with you. Like, the chicken were bigger, the everything was just like mega sized, and things didn't taste the same. The yolk is more darker back home. Here is like very like light yellow. I don't know.
everything is fake. It not only does so. Here's the funny thing, I guess about not even poverty, the freshness of the food, and we created a synthetic society. So it's almost as if America works too good to its detriment, right? The only reason we have so much abundance here is because everything is synthetic and artificial. You couldn't get that much natural stuff. You try to go get what? Not wild caught salmon. How much does it cost? It costs way more than the farm stuff, right? In Africa, that like people keep saying, "Oh, you shouldn't eat meat if you want to live." All of my grandparents, other than my grandfather, lived to their 90. They eat meat every day, but it's the freshness of it, right? There's not being injected with all these hormones and different things. Like, they kill their own cows. As a matter of fact,
Is this it?
Kelly.
For
I've
real?
done it before. It's nice.
yeah.
Kelly,
I found the branch, the toothbrush branch.
it's
You
called a
can buy it on
miswa.
eBay.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
and
called
you
a
can buy
miswa.
them. You can buy them from the store in a bunch of broken sticks. Yeah.